Okay, we'd like you to stand for the next one and participate if you can once.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
All right, we have one more song that we all want to sing, and we want you to participate as much as you can. And that is My Country 'Tis of Thee, and I think most of you know it. So.
My country is of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrims' ride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Thank you, Gordon. These outstanding singers are from Jefferson Avenue Presbyterian Church, and they're volunteers. They have decided to have the under the direction of Stephen Warner, who is our organist and music director. And he thanks us very much for having done so. So welcome, everybody. It's wonderful. We're here together to celebrate our 5th year anniversary of the dedication of the Veterans Garden and our 10th year anniversary of the concept that took place a long time ago, and it took a lot of improvising and brainstorming until it finally became a reality. And we have an enormous, wonderfully capable group of volunteers who have made it a reality. And I have to tell you that these gardens here were given with the building to the community, and these gardens are 52 years old. So over the years, many people tried to make something out of that hillside, which is the most difficult place to do your gardening. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't work, but eventually we thought we should have a place outside where we can honor veterans. And of course the building itself is meant to honor veterans, and we have beautiful plaques, but outside there was no place. So we decided that 10 years ago that maybe this was a great thing to do. And so it was with Dr. Mark Weber, who was here somewhere. And if you come forward for just a minute. You were our inspiration, and you were our constant supplier of new ideas and possibilities, and sometimes they worked, and sometimes they didn't work.
She worked, I didn't.
And then we had to get people organized to do it, which was extremely difficult. So then the recession hit.
Correct.
Correct. We had no funding.
No money.
No money whatsoever, not from any source. And we had had some ideas before and had an estimate from a commercial landscaper, a landscape designer, to do something about that hillside. And the price was $50,000. And we had no funding. There was no way to go about it.
We asked you to write a check.
It didn't work. And so then we did a lot of brainstorming, and one year the Garden Center has a fundraiser, and it's in June, and the Trial Gardens are part of the exhibit and the fundraising, but the hillside was ugly. And so we were sort of pressured to find a solution, and we did. And we asked for master gardeners to step forward and help us out. And quite a few came, actually. But, like with many projects, they might come once, twice, maybe 3 times, but then they fade. But there were 2 ladies who didn't fade, and they are Elaine and Debbie Graffius, and they took it upon themselves to completely rejuvenate that garden, but more of this later. So I want to thank you so much for all you have done to make this happen.
I'm really delighted to be here, and I know most of you, 32 years at the War Memorial, and you're my family here. When Mariki says that it was, the hill was in pretty bad shape, it was. Bob Liebold, who was here, who maintained our facility outdoors forever, put more weed killer on that hill than you can possibly believe. But I am so thrilled to be here, and I especially want to thank not only Bob Liebold, who came in, who all of you worked with for so many years on the outside, Peter Decker, past board member of the War Memorial, thank you so much for what you've done for the garden. John Bates, president of the Senior Men's Club. Oh, he's in the Senior Men's Club, but also the Veterans Club. We worked with John for a long time, honoring our veterans. And Larry Stevenson, who just had to leave, my good friend, he's very involved as well. It was a struggle, and Mariki was right, that we had the recession, and I said, you know, this is great, but we got to raise money. We can't put operating money into this because there wasn't any. And we put a fundraising program together, and many of you remember Terry Carroll, who really did help with Mariki and the committee to raise the $50,000 to do the Veterans project, the garden. And we weren't going to do it until we had the money. I mean, we weren't going to borrow money or make a commitment, so we did raise the money. To me, the Veterans Garden, everybody has a personal story. And my personal story with the Veterans Gardens goes back to 1949. My dad, who was in the Navy, Peter, was a lieutenant in the Navy and maintained airplanes. He was in Grosse Pointe. He came back to Grosse Pointe in 1949, and at that time, This building that you are sitting in right now was with the Detroit Institute of Arts for 15 years. 1935, the Elger family gave it to the DIA. The DIA ran it for 15 years as an extension. They couldn't really make a go of it, so they gave it back, and then they gave it to the school system as a central library. My dad was on the school board at that time in the early 50s. And there was great debate in this community whether they wanted the Elger House to be a central library, and it was a huge debate. Actually, the school system turned it down. And in doing that, they built their library at Kercheval and Fisher. And part of that project was a War Memorial Library, and they formed the Grosse Pointe War Memorial Library Fund to put the plaques that were at the high school at the time, put the plaques there. And then my dad, who knew Paul Moreland and Elger Sheldon, Dick Hughley, got together and said, gee, why don't we try to get the Elger House and turn it in, not the Grosse Pointe War Memorial Library, but an active community center in honor of veterans. So they approached the family, and everything was fine, and the War Memorial, or the Elger House, became the Grosse Pointe War Memorial because the school system turned down this building as a central library in 1949. And my dad was part of that. My dad is also on the plaque out here. The reason this is so special to me, and the many plaques of my parents around here and the Weber family, is that we would take a pinch of ashes for my dad. He had a lot of interest where he wanted his ashes to go. Not at your church, but we'll talk about that. He was at Christ Church. So anyway, so part of his little ashes are not only in the front here in the circle, but they're in the Veterans Garden. So to the Weber family, concerning the history of this place, and now at this time, the history and what the Weber family really cares about this Veterans Garden, because part of my dad is there, and it's a very sacred place to our family, and it's a very sacred place to many families and to veterans in this community. And I want to thank all of you who were part of getting this done, and I want to thank you, Mariki, for all that you've done. Thank you so, so much.
We have to fast forward, and Charles Burke would like to say a few words to you. Our new president.
Yes, I'm here.
Charles Burke is president and CEO of the Grosse Pointe War Memorial, and we have gotten to know each other more and more as time goes on. And we really appreciate all the efforts that the War Memorial has exhibited in supporting us. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce you.
Welcome everyone, delighted to be here, and it's been a really wonderful weekend, starting on Friday morning with Veterans Day breakfast here. On behalf of the board, the staff, the entirety of the War Memorial community, we're very proud to be part of this project. I do want to acknowledge Mark for all of his leadership of getting us to where we are today, and the stick-with-itness to get the project done. And thank you, Mark, and we have a very bright future. I hope you can feel the exciting times that are going on here at the War Memorial. Whether it's the front doors that are being redone, and if you haven't noticed that, please don't walk out that way quite yet. We've been trying to prevent the tripping hazard that's existed for years, and the way it's being designed, it will be open arms to you and the community once it's done in January. No more tripping. The front sign, I hope everybody was able to see on your way in, that you can see from the road. And we're very proud of that. And a lot of that is a result of our dedicated understanding. It's not an easy thing to run a nonprofit organization, And as the first theme here was, there wasn't money to do this. Structurally, how do we develop systems here to have dedicated funds so that 10 years, 20, 30, 50 years from now, there are funds for this. The Arts and Antique Show that was just here last week from Christ Church, that is for a specific area within our endowment to preserve, restore, and enhance the Alger campus. So that's just very exciting. If you notice in the program, there's one name I want to mention. I'm not from this area. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., and I am the proud grandson of he built conduit in Wheeling, West Virginia, and he was on Omaha Beach. His name's Charles Ray, and his name's in the garden, and I'm named after him. His Purple Hearts are up on my desk upstairs, and I did not have the honor of serving, but I see this as my responsibility, my time to serve. My father spent 20 years in the Army. He's currently in Washington, D.C., and my brother stands post every day at the Capitol. And his only job at the Capitol is, if something bad were to happen, they close the doors behind him. That's his job. And so there are unsung heroes in the quiet parts of every day, and we take that responsibility very seriously here. I want to just challenge each one of you to imagine what this place, and specifically the Veterans Gardens, what they will look like on November 11th, 2022. Okay, we'll have flying cars. Okay, we'll have implants instead of phones. And there'll be another new social media thing. But I want to challenge all of us here to say, what is next for the gardens? What are some of the issues that we can start planning and structuring this so that 10, 15, 20 years that my son, who's on Stage Orchestra Hall right now, and I'm going to run out of here because I want to be a good dad too, so that when he comes to the gardens, he can get into the gardens, that we have people with all kinds of mobility issues like the front door can get into the gardens and out of the gardens. So we look forward to working with the Garden Center to develop that plan, but I want to challenge all of us to say, how do we get there in 2022? What does it look like? And I'm going to leave you with this quote that I was just thinking about this, that I came across to try to end my time. Oh, money can't buy the delights of the glen, nor poetry sing all its charms. There's a solace and calm, near described by the pen, when we're folded within nature's arms. And the space outside is that sacred ground that Mark talks about. It's hallowed space. And we want to protect those hallowed spaces, and we want to make sure that they're here for generations to come. So congratulations, and thank you for being here, and thanks for all of your hard work. Thank you.